Hi, this is Elliott Eisenberg, consulting economist to American Pacific Mortgage, catching you up to date on the latest in economics. And what I want to talk about right now is inflation and, more importantly, interest rates. The Fed's raising rates, and the question is why? Look, the economy can't produce the goods and services we want. There are supply chain problems. We can't get chips, we can't get cars, we can't get workers. How is a rate hike going to solve that problem? It may make it worse. Firms are going to hire fewer people, buy less stuff, invest in less plant. That's true in the short run, but that's not the right way to think about it. Think about it as the economy wants. Demand is greater than what the economy can produce, supply. And whenever that happens, like it did in the 60s and the 70s, inflation goes up. And the longer inflation persists and is high and is visible, the higher the chances of it getting entrenched in our heads. And once it gets entrenched in our heads, it's very hard to get rid of it. Think about it. Inflation's bad. It's time for annual pay review. You go, inflation's bad. I want a big pay raise. You want a big pay raise. That leads to more inflation. That leads to increase in the cost of goods and services, which means you want a bigger pay raise. And this becomes a self-perpetuating prophecy. The Fed wants to stop this cold by saying we're going to get rid of inflation so that it doesn't get entrenched in our heads. That's critical. The other thing that's going on is the Congress has told the Fed, your job, one of two jobs, is price stability. The Fed's not achieving price stability, therefore they have to raise rates because demand is greater than supply. Let me give you an example to end and explain this a little bit better. Right now, the U.S. economy can produce and import about 13.5 million cars. Demand's about 60. As a result, what happens? There's inflation in cars. People who work in the car sector want more money. That raises the cost of cars, which leads to inflation, which leads to everybody wanting more money. And you have the self-perpetuating prophecy that I spoke about earlier. So the Fed says, end of story. We're going to reduce the demand for cars by a couple million. The price of cars will stop going up. Inflation there and elsewhere in the economy will go away. Eventually, the supply chains get fixed, and we have no latent inflation floating around anywhere because we've gotten it out of people's heads because we've convinced them we're going to get rid of it. The key, getting rid of inflation and inflation expectations earlier so that it doesn't get entrenched, so that when the economy recovers, people are happy, inflation's low, firms invest, and things are better. That's it for now. I look forward to seeing you next month.